Do you have a Kickstarter? Do you have a business you'd like to promote? We would love to have you featured as a sponsor on our podcast, the Tin Roof Podcast. Just get a hold of me through comments or what have you, and we can set something up to help promote your business. Come grow with us over here at the Tin Roof Podcast. Today's topic is one that is of a mature nature. Viewer discretion is advised. What is going on, everyone? So, I'm not normally this chaotic with all of my stuff that I have, but I wanted a hot cup of coffee and then like this hot cup of cocoa. I smoked cocoa on Friday night for my son and I, and he ended up not finishing his cup, and I didn't want it to go to waste. So I am finishing it. But I also wanted my coffee. So that's why if you're on the YouTube and you're like, wow, how many drinks does this guy need? I guess I need more than one. Even more than two, I guess. That being said, thank you so much for joining us today. Today's topic is one that is extremely heavy. We're going to somewhat delve into the whys of heavy music and how some of us got here. And a lot of this revolves around the current topic of one band, and that would be Whitechapel. Why? Because Phil Bozeman, the lead singer, just recently had a situation. I don't know what else to call it other than that. I mean, we don't know the whole story. We just know that he had to back out of their South American tour, and he made a video saying why, and we're going to get into the why here in just a second. But I want to examine something prior to that. It was a last minute thing, the cancellation. You can tell that he was like trying to not cancel. You can see it by a lot of things, and the fact that it did end up going that way, obviously it's a bummer. But like a day before the announcement came that they weren't going to be touring anymore, they put up the flyer on their Facebook page. Hey, here we're coming to these places, these dates with Thy Art Is Murder, and yada yada yada, and like super cool for the South American fans, right? But then the next day, he puts up this video on the Whitechapel page. Hey, it's Phil from Whitechapel. Sorry to say this, but we're not coming. And then he says why. And honestly, there is no better reason as to why not to go than what he gave. Mental health is a very big deal. And how many times have people put their mental health aside and then it become a not good thing? So the fact that he was aware that he needed to is a very big deal. And anybody that was upset and like, oh, whatever negative comment could have been said there, I don't necessarily want to think about it, because in this case, I want the best out of humanity. Because if anybody else was in that position where they were feeling horrible, they would want the sympathy, the empathy, all of the things, because it's not a good feeling to have. To feel like, even more so than what you may already feel, being one that battles depression and everything else, is that you're a letdown. I am very familiar with those feelings because I have depression. And I have dealt with it for 20-ish years, like over 20. And I mean, there's great moments, really great moments, and then there's moments where they are absolutely terrible. That's depression in a whole. It can sneak up on you anywhere and everywhere and out of nowhere and whatnot else. But it doesn't make things easy. It doesn't. It's such a challenge to already feel like everybody hates you or whatever, like to be down on yourself, to be beating yourself up inside, and then to admit that you're struggling, and then to get hit with more negative comments. I don't even know if he did. I'm just hoping he didn't, because it makes things so much worse whenever that happens. You know, oh, you're throwing yourself a pity party. Oh, this. Oh, that. That's not okay. Now, why do most of us like the metal genre? How did we end up coming to this stuff? Phil said it really well in his video. He's like, much like most of us, during our teenage years when we found this kind of music, we were going through a rough patch, dealing with, some sort of traumatic event, yada, yada, yada. And that's very true. Puberty in itself is a traumatic event. But then, you add in like the things that Phil has gone through, and particularly if you look at what he has gone through, because his story has taken up the last two albums. You have, I always want to call it Ken, but I don't think that's the name of the actual album. It might be Ken. But you have that, and then you have The Valley. The Valley is probably one of my favorite albums that they have done. There's a lot of really, like, just strong feelings in that album, and it is Ken. Okay. Those two albums, Ken and The Valley, are a lot of things that he was dealing with. And I don't know what he needed to get it out, obviously, whenever he wrote The Valley. And just from, like, armchair quarterbacking thought process, whenever you get those try to get those kind of emotions out, especially in a creative aspect like this one, which is what we're going to be talking about mostly today, is you're not done in just one go. And so he does The Valley. Well, okay, I need to get a little bit more out. And so we have the album Ken. And for Phil, those were some really good albums, and he was able to get it out. And a really cool thing is, with Phil, he tried to get off of his depression medicines. He's been on them for like 30-something years, he said. And so for the attempt to get off of those kinds of medicine, and then like to be expected to tour, like, guys, when you're coming off of those kinds of medicine, if you never have, it's such a chore, and it feels horrible. And I wasn't even on mine as long as that. I've spent most of my time, thankfully, being able to fight my own influxes, my own imbalances, my own issues in my own body by myself. Not everybody can do that. And I do not fault Phil at all, because whenever you are coming off of those things, it is so horrid. You are, like he said, he's processing things that he was numb to for 30 years. He has to unpack so much because of being on that medicine. Now, did it help him a lot? Oh, I'm sure. But I'm excited for him in this new stage, because there can be a lot of positives in this new stage. But that poor guy is going through a lot at the moment, and he hopefully can find some closure, some positivity. It coming off of antidepressants, having depression in general, all that stuff together is very, very hard to navigate. And so, with the right people and, a really good support system, it makes it easier. He mentioned his fiance in his video. I think that that's important to have around him. And, he does have some family still around. Because, okay, the biggest thing with Phil's story, I don't know the whole story. And I don't need to know the whole story. But I have my own stuff that I deal with that makes day in and day out difficult at times. And my poetry and everything else that I do helps me get around that. Music as an outlet to listen to is very therapeutic. And we're gonna get more in on that topic here in just a minute. But he lost his mom and his dad very quickly at young ages. I want to say he was 10 whenever his dad passed, and then his mom got remarried, and it was to a guy that was dealing that was I don't think he was a drug dealer, but he was a drug addict for sure. And his mom got addicted to drugs, and he has a song about his mom and her boyfriend, and kind of like his relationship with his mom. And it's very powerful, what all it goes through. And it's one of the very first songs, if not the first song on the album. I actually think it's the first song on the album, and I'm sitting here thinking about it. Yes, it is the first song on the album, and it was actually released as a single too. I didn't realize that. But it's one of my favorite songs, and it's because like some of the emotions in the song I can relate to. It's kind of hard to tell people that I'm friends with that, hey, my favorite song is called "When a Demon Defiles a Witch," because the way that sounds and where everybody else, where everybody's brain first goes to, they see it as one thing, and they're like, oh, ew, ghost, yada yada yada, and possession, and yada yada yada, and all this other stuff. Sometimes you have to look past the poeticness of a song, or poeticness of a poem, to really get down to like brass tacks, so to speak. And with "When a Demon Defiles a Witch," I felt it. I saw the music video, and I was like, I think I know where this is going. But I don't really watch the music video anymore, for a lot of reasons. But I still like the song a lot, because the meaning behind the song is something that I relate to, and I know the feeling. And my wife asked me, because this is interesting, because we're going to talk Enneagrams on this show, and I guess that's one thing that I don't know if we have in the past. I can't recall, but I don't know. Like, it's not something we would normally talk about on this show, and so, like, the fact that we're getting ready to talk about Enneagrams is interesting. I'm a 4. I'm a creative. I'm empathetic, almost to a fault. I feel every emotion very, very deeply, and my wife's a 5. She's a researcher. She's very analytical. She processes quickly. Well, maybe not necessarily quickly, but she processes it and she moves on. And so she wants to understand, well, why do I feel a certain way about certain songs or whatever. And I really like both of these albums because I can, like, I feel it. I get it. I get the feeling of, like, needing to get these things off of your chest and being in that spot. Now, where I'm at now is not where I was at whenever I first started listening to metal music. And I would tell anybody this any day of the week now, because I think that this part is extremely important, and it is the fact that if you're going to listen to metal music, it's hard because you're looking to have an outlet. You're looking to be okay, even though you may not be okay. And there's a lot of, my wife and I were just talking about this. There's a lot of quote unquote themes with metal that's, suicidal or, dealing with the depressive. And I keep using quotes. I'm starting to feel like Chris Farley from that commentator's skit from Saturday Night Live. But you end up with all of these things that are labeled bad. Depression is a bad thing, but it's a horrible monster. But with metal, we're a group of people that are, hey, I've been there too. And there's good feeling to be, you can't describe how good it feels to be at a metal show, because you're getting certain auditory senses that are hit in a way that feels really, really good. You're around people of a similar mindset or what have you, and obviously, like, there's certain people there that don't, that are, not everything at a metal show, or at some metal shows, or most metal shows, or whatever, not everything there is great, but you're going to get that at a country concert, you're going to get that anywhere. But those people that you link with that enjoy this particular type of music, that have had those feelings that you can relate to, that you empathize with, it hits on a whole nother level. And, like, not all of it is sad. Like, we've discussed that before with, like, Killswitch Engage and some of these other bands. And, okay, deathcore is probably one of my favorite genres. I don't know if you would necessarily consider Lamb of God deathcore, but I kind of lump them somewhat in the same category. But being a Christian and being a fan of deathcore, I have to be very careful as to what I listen to. And this is something that my wife and I just had a discussion, and we had a discussion with my son about. I'm very selective. I don't listen to everything. And there's a lot of bands that I've quit listening to. Job for a Cowboy is still one of my favorites. And with this show, I'm not going to promote, like, if I can find a song, so say I find a song that is on an album that has not great artwork or whatever, like, there's something wrong with it, morally, I guess, I'm probably, like, I'm not going to promote that. I'm not going to be like, oh, you should listen to this. No, I'm not going to do that. Like, even with the playlist that I've made in the past, I have a Christmas playlist on Spotify. I didn't really plug it this year. But I also have a Tin Roof playlist that's regular, country and metal. And there's certain songs on there, certain songs that I used to listen to that definitely would have fit the mold, but I don't listen to him anymore because of content, because of the album cover, because of whatever. I love this genre of music. I really enjoy deathcore. I really enjoy like the scenes and stuff, because they're gothic scenes, and not in the sense of, you know, creepy, self-harm, murderous, yada yada yada, but like there's certain themes of, you know, like with Of the Abyss by Lorna Shore, you know, with the, let's see, we are from the dust of a dead star. Now that I put myself on the spot, I can't recall the lyrics, but like the images and the pictures of like that, like some of it is creepy storytelling, and that's like one of the things that I enjoy, because I've even said on here before I enjoy horror. And I guess that's one thing that I applaud Brian Welch about Head from Korn, is him and I do not see eye to eye on everything. I can already tell you that. But what I can agree with him in is the positive message that you can do from his standpoint, from my standpoint. We both love music. We both have a zeal for God. But there's a lot of positives that can be done and viewed from these lanes, because like deathcore is different than what Korn does. But you know, even in one of Brian Welch's books, he like the one before he returned to Korn, and talking about his return to Korn, I can't think of the title of it right now. I just read it like a month ago. He talks about how he didn't want to play certain songs anymore, and rightfully so. But this music helps so much if you put yourself in the right mindset. And that's where I was headed a few minutes ago whenever we first started talking about, you know, you come to this genre of music because you're not okay and you're needing to be okay. And like there is anger and there is yada yada yada, but you can't. You have to handle your anger appropriately, and certain people that listen to this music can't. And you know, I'm not faulting them. I'm not calling them horrible people by any means, because I used to be one of those people. I look at this music very different than what I used to, and I had to believe it for a while and not listen to it, and had to kind of like change some of my mindset. And we're gonna get to country music here in just a minute, because we have to, because there's a lot of depression tones there as well. But we're on the downhill slope. We're getting ready to be wrapping this particular episode up. We need to, whenever us that listen to this type of music listen to it, we need to have a few things like calmed and be looking at this in a particular way. It's okay to be angry. We can't overact. We can't overreact. But if we are angry, we can't let it be because the music makes us angry. We can't let this music make us angry, because then we are what the stereotype is, right? Oh, well, that music makes you angry. We come here to calm down. This is our safe space. Safe place. It feels good to know that we matter. And there was a lawsuit filed against Ozzy for the death of a fan who committed suicide. this was years ago. This was around Diary of a Madman time. And actually, it may have even been before. It may have been a Black Sabbath song that the guy was listening to. I can't remember what the song was. I used to know exactly what song it was. But Ozzy had a lawsuit filed against him for the lyrics. And the whole thing is just sad, because if these bands wanted their fans to kill themselves off, there'd be none of us here to listen to it. So people get the wrong idea about metal to begin with. And it's extremely unfortunate, because there's so much good that is done for those of us that can listen to it and it be therapeutic. That feeling of, I've been there too, I know how it feels, or man, that's a cool story, because that's the whole thing, right? Like that's what Tin Roof has been all about from day one. Cool stories, getting to vibe, that empathizing feeling, all the different things, right? So this would be a perfect time to bring in country. You know, Hank Williams Sr. Love his music. I don't really listen to his hymnal gospel stuff. I that's not for me. But like, I'm So Lonesome I Could Cry, Jambalaya, you know, all that stuff. I do listen to it. And I'm So Lonesome I Can Cry. That is an alcoholic singing about being an alcoholic long before Jelly Roll was even born. That is like those, like Hank Williams songs. They're like the whole like part about the whippoorwill and stuff. That could totally be a metal song today. Johnny Cash, that dude influenced so many metal people, and we've talked about that before. The influence that old school country has had on stuff. David Allan Coe was even in a metal band with the members of Dimebag. Well, Dimebag was there, but the members of Pantera. Whenever they did Rebel Meets Rebel, there is an overlap. That's why we're here. But again, like, to listen to certain songs like that, you have to be okay. And I think one of the best ones that I could recommend to anybody today that would be a road to start healing, Alan Jackson. That dude has gone through the ringer here lately, and he's one of my favorite artists. Okay, what I was looking for was a single called Racing in the Dark by Alan Jackson. It's the first thing he wrote since the passing of his son-in-law. And basically it's like his daughter having to start over is the song. And like he took it really hard, his son-in-law's death, because why wouldn't you? I mean, that's, especially like if you have a really strong bond, like that's a member of your family, and essentially like the word son is in it. That's somebody that you now have a special bond with. I mean, they're taking care of your daughter, or a daughter-in-law is taking care of your son, or whatever. Like they're family, and to like get that fresh start. And I think we need to keep that in mind when we look at things. And it's hard to not deal with particular stereotypes in your head. It happens all the time. I think about that a lot with music in general, because there is big groups on both sides, ew metal or ew country or whatever. I like both, and there's a handful of us that do, obviously, because there's a handful of you guys that listen to this podcast, and I appreciate it when you guys do listen to this podcast. I had an idea on how I was going to put this particular episode out there. I don't know how I'm going to do that now, because certain ways I'm nervous to share it. Obviously, I'm still going to put it up, and I hope you guys have an amazing Monday. But it's so hard to deal with processing feelings. They're uncomfortable, right? And I think that's part of why we put on these. Not every time we listen to this music are we feeling this way, but if you listen to listen to these genres and the feelings, and you've been there, the times when we put on this music and we're in a car or we're in a room and we just let all of those feelings out. We know how good that feels. And that's what we like, is that process. But is it that every time? No. Do you feel sad every time you listen to Anti-Cure or History is Silent on the Ken album? No. Matter of fact, I haven't been sad, I think, any time I've listened to either one of those songs. But they're good songs. I don't know, but I have that feeling of like where Phil's coming from with those. And trauma is hard to process. Music helps, writing helps. I recommend a journal. I can't believe that I just said that. I don't even journal, but writing poetry and everything else really, really helps. And like maybe that's your journaling. Maybe you write poetry. You don't necessarily have to, dear diary, my life is so sad, or whatever. It doesn't have to be all that stuff. And I know like that's been a running joke in life in general in the past, but you don't have to. That's not where you have to approach it from. Not at all. I'm going to continue this conversation on Thursday on my other podcast show, Calloused Hands. So we're going to take a biblical stance on this. The thing is sometimes we need to let feelings out, and that's okay. That's what depression is. Like, imagine being a boiler that's about to just burst, and we need to let off some steam. Music can be that for us. Writing can be that for us. Do both. Both are fantastic. It's okay to not be okay. You are loved. There's so many reasons to stay here. There's like, number one, music in itself. Man, music, like I just said, just is so wonderful. A beautiful thing that, has been put before us. But we don't even have to stop there. There's so many people that care and that want you here. I want you here. If you are needing help in any way, reach out, whether it's to me, to somebody else, whatever. If you're feeling completely alone, I'm here. It's a tough subject. I don't like talking about it in certain aspects, but I want to talk about it in other aspects because I want to help. I don't want people to feel the ways that I've felt in the past. And it's, like I said, it's so good to process those feelings and to come to understanding with those feelings. And Phil needs to do that. And I applaud the fact that he's trying to do that. And we need to give him the break, because traveling life is not an easy one to begin with. And then on top of it, to feel mentally cruddy. It would be so much better for the fans, for him, for everybody, if he can just take a sabbatical, get himself together, and then whenever they come back to South America, they're going to kill it because they're Whitechapel. But it's okay to not be okay. It's okay to listen to music that people might not understand. But just make sure that it's not corruptible. not from the aspect of, oh, I'm a good person or whatever. It's not gonna corrupt me because I don't think blah 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 blah. No, I'm talking about making sure that the content in there is something that we should be listening to. I think it's okay to listen to dark stories and everything else and whatnot all the time. Not all the time, though, is what I mean. I listen to these songs and everything, but I also do other things as well. You can't stay in one position for forever, because if you stay in this one thing, you're going to get in a rut, and then that rut's not going to be healthy either. But if you come over to Callous Hands podcast later on in the week, we can talk more about it. I hope you're having as good as a Monday can be. I hope it's a good one. I hope you guys are well taken care of. So happy to have you guys around. Thank you so much for tuning in. And shout out to all of you. Have a good one.